Boom. And we are rocking and rolling.
Hello.
Episode 2.
I can't believe we are already at episode 2.
One Scott, one not. I'm ready. I'm very
ready?
excited. I am super ready, and I'm actually really excited. Although I'm getting some weird like crackles. Hopefully that's just in my ear
Not
holes.
the dog.
And
Not the dog eating its ice.
She did it. She got it down. I have my whiskey ready and my beer chaser because you can't have a Scottish podcast without a little whiskey. Am I right?
Yeah, what kind have you got now? Because I'm still on the first bottle, but you're obviously a more hardened drinker than me, so I saw that you're on to a second.
Yeah, I'm really hardened. I have a full bottle from last week. I wasn't overly thrilled with that, so I'm just gonna let that sit there for a while. And then I had a lovely conversation with a friend who used to be a bartender, and she said, "Do you want a whiskey recommendation?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, you can see I have a brand new bottle of the Glenlivet.
I think that's quite a good one.
Number 12. Now there's a lot of different. There's like a 12. There's a 18.
Is it the number of years that it's matured for? Like I'm really pretending like I actually know something about whiskey when I don't. I actually have a friend that knows lots more about whiskey, so I might have to pick his brains and get some facts about whiskey, so that I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Well, I know
I'm pretending
drinking
to know, because I feel a little bit embarrassed to be Scottish and an expert on whiskey. So
I just hope someone like comments either on Instagram or a blog and like gives us the 411 so we know more. Yeah. Like I'm leaving it up to the audience to be like, okay, this is what you need to try. This is amazing because this, like I want like direct like feedback for what to do. But she said this is like she said this is like top shelf, like if you went to a bar, but not like $1 million. And I was like, top shelf, not $1 million sounds great. Now it's
a single malt.
Yeah, it is a single malt. It's also
not
like
blend.
In the liquor store, at least in North Carolina, when you walk in, you have a whole wall of scotch, because that's what we call it, to choose from. And it's literally the first. It's like the first, like this was like the first bottle of the whole entire wall. So I'm like, that must be a sign of something, I guess, right? So anyways, I have a glass and I'm going to pour myself a wee.
I'm sure by now, if people have actually listened to the first episode and they actually came back for the second episode and didn't say, so that we're not listening to them too again, that they're going to think that we're alcoholics and all we talk about is whiskey, because this is the second time in a row.
I just want to be authentic. I'm working on my Scottishness, and I feel like I can't do that if I'm not actively drinking. So I'll take one for the team. It's all right.
Okay.
And I don't actually drink Monday through Friday. Oh no, I definitely drink on Fridays. I don't drink Monday through Thursday. I'm working my buns off. So, but then when the weekend comes, I'm like, let's go. I like to work hard and then I like to play hard as well. So this is my weekend. It's Saturday night. I'm fully embracing my.
I can't wait to hear what it tastes like.
I can't wait to. Okay, the back description sounds amazing. It says vibrantly golden color. This whiskey entices you in a silky vanilla sweetness, dances across your palate, followed by rich fruit and subtle marzipan spice, intensifying your flavorful experience. I'm like, oh, it actually smells good.
It smells good. Where's Glenlivet from? I'm sounding like a right, complete, absolute.
Oh, it actually smells really good, and I don't even
now, if anyone is.
Is that a lot?
Listen to me that comes from Scotland. They'll think that I don't actually know what I'm talking about. I'm sure it's in the Highlands somewhere. Ballindalloch. It's in Ballindalloch. Okay.
This is the Glenlivet Distillery, Banffshire.
Well, it's in Murray. It says it's in Murray, which is the area. It's spelled Moray. So if you're not from Scotland and you like to pronounce things wrong, you might pronounce it Moray by mistake, but it's actually Murray, in Murray Council area, and it says it's near Ballindalloch. So yeah,
I have no idea where
sort
any
of
of that
towards
is.
the Highland.
Okay.
Speyside.
What's Bayside? Is that? I was just gonna say, is that to the left? Is that on the left? I'm sorry. Is that on the west coast?
I've clicked on their website and it won't let me in unless I prove that I'm over 18. So Speyside is called Speyside because there's a river called the Spey. So in Scotland, where there's rivers, they would have like the name of the river and then side after it. So D-side, Donside, and they're the area around the river. So Speyside is the river, the area around the River Spey, and that's kind of on the way to the Highlands, like between me, which I'm in Aberdeenshire, so I'm a little bit further.
Is it by like Inverness? Because Inverness,
and it's kind of, it's a little bit south of Inverness.
Okay.
Just a little bit south of Inverness, but in the.
Because isn't Inverness like the gateway to the islands, like the city?
Yeah, and it's so beautiful up there.
Oh, it's everywhere is beautiful there. All right, I'm gonna take a sip and see what I think.
Do you like it?
It is better than the Dewars.
Dewars.
I'm sorry, Dewars.
I'm not going to correct you on your pronunciation.
No, don't please correct me. It's so bad. I don't know if I like it because this is only the second time I've even ever had whiskey.
Do you know, I always feel with whiskey,
but I'm getting it down no matter what.
I prefer the taste of it. I do love whiskey, but it starts to taste better and better
as you drink it.
As you drink it.
Well, off we go. Let's do it. I'm on my way. And I have my Corona chaser as always. Although I really wanted a Blue Moon, but my husband drank them all last night. So
guess what I'm doing tomorrow?
What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm going on a walk with some friends of mine because finally, since December or whenever they put all the lockdown restrictions, we are now allowed to meet outdoors with friends in small groups for walks.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm meeting some friends of mine and we are going to go and have a walk around this really cool ruined castle that somebody else that I know had posted photos of them going around it, and I hadn't even heard of this castle before. What? And it looks so cool. It's like a fairy tale sort of really rubbles with like ivy growing through all the windows, and there's no roof on it anymore, and it's in the middle of a field, so you have to walk to get to it. And so we're going to go for a walk and go and discover this ruined castle. So I'll take some photos and I'll stick them on our Instagram.
Oh my god, please do. So can you tell me what's the name of it? I'm dying to have a sneak peek on my phone.
The name, now I might not even be pronouncing this right, but the name is called Gite Castle, Gight, Gite, a bit like light with a G.
Yeah, it came right up. And is this, how far is it from you?
I'm not saying that. I don't want people to know exactly where I live.
That's true. Sorry. Super sorry.
The local.
I see now on the map how far it is from you. That's going to be quite a drive, Lucy. Look at that.
Not that far from me.
Oh, I wonder if it's haunted. Which ties right into what I am going to be talking about.
Can't wait to hear.
Very, very soon. Wow. So
do you want to go first?
Very cool ruin. Maybe I shall, because it does actually tie into castle ruins.
So what we decided that we were going to do from now on, because we do have the tendency to let our talk run away with us and chit chat for ages and last week's podcast was like 2 hours long or something ridiculous, is that we're each going to take it in turns each week. So
yeah, so we're trying to cap it in a nice hour, a full hour, and then we're out, so we don't exhaust
so
anyone.
1 week it'll be Karen's topic, and then the next week it'll be mine, and so on and so forth. And unless of course you want to write in with your own topics, we do have a contact form on our website, which is called onescot1not.com. And if you have a story about anything strange or ghostly or supernatural, or just something interesting, if you ever came on holiday to Scotland, or if you are Scottish and you live here and you've got something that you want to, you know, some kind of experience that you want to tell us about, it could be anything. It could be some kind of
ghost
story,
like fairy encounter,
anything. If you have seen the Loch Ness Monster or the Green Lady of Hermitage Castle or anything like that, then you can write to us through our website, and once we have enough, we'll read them out in an episode.
And I actually want to get to the point where we can have people leave us voice messages. Like, I want to hear these. Cool. That would be super cool to feature too. So stay tuned for that, because
if you have any photos, you could send us. If you have proof of ghosts and you have photos of like a ghostly castle encounter, you could email us, and then we could stick it on our Instagram for people to see. Anything like that.
And our Instagram and website and email and YouTube channel are all the same. They're all One Scot, One Not, and that's with the number 1. So One Scot with 1 T and One Not, also with 1 T, at gmail.com, that YouTube, everything. So definitely want to hear from you. Okay, I'm going to dive in. And actually, though, before I start, though, what are you doing next week? Because I don't even know what you're covering, and I just want to know what to look forward to, because I'm excited.
I'm going to talk about seers.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. All right. That's awesome. I'm already excited. I'm like,
I've got a really like kind of funny and cute story and a little bit spooky story about it. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh wait, awesome. That's exciting. All right, let me have a little drink of my.
But you did tell me what you were doing, and I'd never heard of it before, and now I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I'm covering the Red Cap, and that's one word, Red Cap.
Is it something to do with mushrooms?
It's actually a goblin.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't understand until I started my in-depth research on red caps how many goblin variations there are. I've always sort of focused on learning about the fairies, and they are included in the fae world. They're sort of like an ugly offshoot of the fairy, but goblins in general, and actually it sent me down this rabbit hole of sort of like learning how to differentiate some different kinds of Scottish folklore beings. There's so many kinds.
I know, it's going to keep us going for ages.
For like decades, we're going to have this podcast. So there's goblins, which are a typically they're almost always male, and they are, although not always, there are female goblins who have been named throughout history, but they're usually smaller, they're old, they're usually hairy, and they're usually pretty malevolent or mischievous, but they're usually up to no good. Now that's sort of like your generic goblin, but there's all these subsets of goblins that I have learned, like the hobgoblin, the brownie.
I've heard of that one. And brownies.
And brownies are like another sort of cousin goblin, if you will. And we'll talk about that a little bit. I think those all deserve their own episodes. The Red Cap Goblin is the worst of all of them.
Really?
It's the darkest. They're just downright murderous goblins, and their sole objective is to kill human beings. Now, before I get to
where do they live?
So before we get to the nitty gritty, I just have to back up and say that goblins, hold on, I need to shut the door because my kids are in the hallway.
I can hear them.
They're talking and I feel like they're in this episode. So I'm gonna,
at least it's not my cat wailing.
Yeah, I'm just gonna,
you know, normally it's that. Normally as soon as I start filming for any of my
you
videos,
guys shut your door because you're getting picked up on the
starts
podcast.
to wail in the background.
Okay. So Billy can edit that out. And then of course the YouTube video gets the whole uncut show. So you guys will be laughing right now, but I do have 3 kids and 4 pets. And so things happen sometimes out of my control. So goblins actually belong to, they are part of a tutelary. They're defined under this tutelary spirit category. This is what I'm thinking. I went down this rabbit hole of like, how are we categorizing all of these spirits? And those are spirits that are in charge of or guarding of or protective of, oh my God, now my dog is trying to get in, a place, a certain place or a person. So they're sort of like, okay, they become attached to a place or a hearth. It could be a home, it could be a person. And in the case of the red caps, they only occupy the castles along the English-Scottish border.
Oh, that's why they're so murderous.
Yes.
Are they murdering the English or the Scots?
They're murdering anyone, but they inhabit.
No, I think we should murder the English.
they
you know that border is like fiercely defended, right?
Yes, and it's like
Can I interject with a funny story?
100%.
So whenever we used to go on holiday when I was little, because my dad was actually from Yorkshire, I kind of say that under my breath. My dad was from Yorkshire, so we'd go down to visit Yorkshire to visit his family and my family too, and we'd go down there to visit family. And then as we were driving down towards England, you pass the border and it'll say welcome to England, and we had this family tradition where my dad would cheer and we would all go boo.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah, and then on the way back, you know, the same thing. We would all cheer as we were coming into Scotland, and my dad would boo.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So that whole border area is
That's why there was a wall built by the Romans.
Yes, and I know, and it's the site of like the bloodiest battles that spans just centuries of warfare and death and bloody. And there's supposed to be red cap goblins that inhabit every single one of those castles.
Really?
Yes. Like it doesn't matter if they're ruinous, but they're all renowned for all housing these malevolent, super nasty guys.
I hope there's not a goblin in this castle I'm going to tomorrow.
Is it? Well, it's not on the border wall, right?
It's not on the border, but maybe there's a different kind of goblin there.
Maybe you should research it and see if it was the site of any like big bloody wars in the past. Yikes! So they're super nasty, and they all look the same. So they're short, and they have like greasy long hair. They have super huge, like prominent teeth. They have really skinny fingers, and they're like eagle talon claws at the end. So they're super creepy.
They sound disgusting.
They're disgusting. Interestingly, they are the only member of the Fae family that is not repelled by iron. They actually wear iron boots. I mean, they are like complete badass bad dudes. So, and they carry like pickaxes, and they're at the ready. And so if a traveler comes into one of these ruins to explore, holiday, picnic, they will just flat out try to murder you. And they like to like throw giant, huge stones and try to hit people. And the reason that they're called red caps is that the red hats that they wear on their head are red because they dye them with the human blood of their victims.
That sounds so disgusting.
They're super evil. And apparently if all of the dye seeps away or leaches away, they too will die. So they have to keep the red cap stained with human blood, or else it means the end of their own lives. So they're a little intent on keeping up their antics so that it will sustain their own life. They are not, they cannot be beaten by humans, and humans cannot outrun them. So like they have all these stories about how you can't outrun a red cap. Like it is not happening. So the only thing that will defeat them is by reading or reciting words of scripture or from the Bible, or if you're hanging on to like a crucifix, that will defeat them. And
so if I go into the castle with
yes,
a crucifix around my neck and I'm
yeah,
reciting the Bible, then I
should be okay.
I'm
that's
okay from the
it.
red cap.
Yeah. You just be holy for one day and you're good.
I can pretend.
Right? Whip out your Bible for one little day and then you're good. But it's terrifying. And then when you do defeat him.
Solitary? Does it just one living alone?
It's totally solitary. Yeah, they're super freaky.
I wonder how they make more red caps then.
I know. Well, it's funny that you say that. Well, first of all, if you do this Bible recitation, they will actually burst into flames and they leave behind one of their nasty ass big tooths. So like you get your little souvenir. And I want to know how many people have like a tooth from a red cap. But yeah, they're super gnarly, bad dudes. Interestingly, what I think is cool is that there was this guy, Maggie is next to me. She's eating one of my art journals. Maggie. And she's actually has her hand on this cat cartoon. I have this 20 cat pies in here and she's trashing them. I know they're cats, girlfriend, but don't eat my
That's
cats.
why she was trying to eat it.
I know, she was. Typical dog. So there was this dude back in history and his name was William de Soulis. And the most haunted of these border castle walls is Hermitage Castle. Have you heard of Hermitage Castle?
No, I've never heard of it. I don't think I've even really, apart from driving through to go to England, not really spent much time at the borders. So I don't really know anything about it.
Okay. And I don't know. And according to another podcast when I was doing my research, that it's not even like near or anywhere. Like you can't like take a road and drive to there. You'd have to like take a road, park, and then hike out in the middle of nowhere to even find this castle. And it hasn't been inhabited since like 1705 was the last. So it's been long been not used, and it was built in the 1200s by the de Soulis family. And then William de Soulis is like a descendant of, but not very long after, maybe 80 years after it was built. And
wow, I've just Googled it. It looks amazing.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's yeah, it doesn't even look old. Like it looks like it's in total complete condition. Doesn't look like a ruin.
It doesn't look like a ruin, but it looks really like big and foreboding.
Yes, it does.
I guess if it was on a border, it was maybe, some of the castles up here are more like homes than castles,
right?
Even though they're still designed to be a safe place. They're more of a home, a big, baronial home type thing.
Right.
But maybe on the border, they were more designed to be fortresses. It looks like a fortress. It looks like the kind of thing soldiers would be in.
It does. And the name, it actually is taken from the Old French l'Hermitage, which is literally a guardhouse. So yeah, it was built very specifically for that reason. And so this guy, William de Soulis, if you Google around or you're doing research about red caps, this guy's name comes up over and over because he actually practiced witchcraft, and he was very much into the dark arts and sorcery, and rumored to
when
be
was he alive?
A warlock. This was around just the early 1300s.
Okay.
And he was a really mean guy. He would like kidnap children. He would like, someone would come as a messenger riding in on his horse, and he would like randomly and spontaneously like murder him and the horse, like murder the messenger and the horse, kidnap women if he like was after them, like kill children. Like he was an evil dark dude.
He sounds just as bad as the Red Caps.
I know. And he had, they say that he had a familiar. This is like a story from like a movie. Like he had a familiar who was a Red Cap. And
I feel like they should be making a movie out of this.
And he kept his Red Cap in a chest with 3 locks on it, and he could open up the chest and let him out. And if he looked at his Red Cap familiar, and he had a name, his name was Robin, so Robin Red Cap. If he looked at him, so Robin Red Cap,
it's not a very scary name, though, is it?
I know, it's
you think
crazy.
It could be like,
yeah.
You know,
Robin
I don't know.
Red Cap, yeah.
It's cartoon.
I know, but he gave
kids cartoon character out of that.
And then, but at the end, it's got like a twisted ending. So he would give, because of these dark arts, he was able to give him protection. But like the deal was, like he couldn't look at him. So they had some arrangement. But like just the name, like, oh, he had a familiar. I'm like, wait, what? Like in the movies, what they have. So like I said in the very beginning, was that goblins are usually dedicated or surrounded to a place or person. So that was, he was guarding this man at Hermitage Castle, and he was such a bad evil dude, and people were terrified of him for good reason. He was genuinely horrible, but rumors of this Red Cap were, was like his little accomplice, which is just super dark and scary. That their rumors were that and he also, I should say, which this is kind of huge because everybody knows about like King Robert the Bruce, who was like the big hero of Scotland in the 1300s, and he was trying to overthrow him. So he had interests of his own self for the crown. So he was a traitor. He was such a bad dude in every single way and sense of the word, that the villagers actually, and this is rumored, that they actually kidnapped him. They dragged him to Ninestang Rid, which is actually a megalithic stone circle, which is still standing today, and that they had boiled him to death in molten lead because he was so evil and so dark, and they boiled him alive. However, that is not true.
Do you know that? Oh, it's not true.
It's actually not true. And I don't know, I'll just get into that for 1 second. So what actually did happen is he was kidnapped and dragged away, and he was brought to, oh no, the name escapes me, Dunbarton Castle, perhaps? And he died there. But
not boiled in molten.
But not boiled in.
Do you know, that's so funny because I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but something similar happens I uncovered in my research.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm not going to say any more
for next week.
Now.
For next week.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating! You already have my interest is peaked.
I know. So maybe that was like a favored, form of torturing,
execution,
and killing people in those days.
There was a man.
Humans were so gruesome then.
Oh, yeah, they were. There was a ballad that was written about William de Soulis and Robin Red Cap, like a whole ballad. And I don't know if that means that it was set to music or it was just a long form poem. But in this ballad that was written in the 1700s, don't quote me on that, but I think he kind of recites a lot of this part of de Soulis and the history and his familiar and Robin Red Cap. And they do say, so this story of that death, because they're in the ballad, it also goes on to saying that People still have the cauldron that he was boiled in, and it's still on, like, you can go and see it today, but in reality that was not really used for that, and you can see it today, but that's not what it was actually used for. And that his
so
tale,
they kind of embellished it just to make it a little bit more
and this did happen, but they were unable to like untangle his ballad story with another death from another person that really did happen to. And so it sort of becomes this legend now all these centuries later, and they're not really, they do know that he died from old age in this castle, but that all that stuff about him killing people and trying to dethrone Robert the Bruce and his familiar, all that's supposed to be very, very true. So, right?
Would you say, I'm just sidetracking a little bit.
No, go
Are
for
you
it.
in the camp of the kind of person that likes to uncover the truth of the legend, even if it's like, or come to the bottom of it, even if it's like a more dull version? Or are you the kind of person that would still like to believe the fantastical story? Because I know that for me, I always get really disappointed when I hear this like really cool, like fantastical, you know, tale being told, and then somebody just goes ahead and debunks the whole thing. I'm like, why did you do that to me? Like, I don't want to know. Like, I just want to keep believing that it was the aliens that took them away and carted them off to some place, and that it wasn't just that they knocked their head and like saw something by mistake, or like that, you know, or it was a weather balloon, or, you know, all those kinds of things that people debunk with. I would just like to just carry on believing that that he got boiled in the molten lead.
I know. And not only that, but then I want to go see it. I want to like travel there, and I want to see the cauldron. Like, I don't want to stop there.
Some people like to learn, like to get to the bottom of those things, and like to prove the story's wrong and be like, no, it's just all made up. Whereas I don't know, there's a part of me that just doesn't really want to learn that it's made up.
Oh, for sure. I don't mind learning the truth. I'm not like super disappointed, but I'm also perfectly happy to be like ignorantly bliss if like, for example, that was that YouTube video that I shared with you of a man who
that was so good.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It's like a 9-minute video, and at minute like 6:13, he spots and records over his shoulder, because he's like doing a selfie cam, and he's like,
he's in a forest.
He's like
this like really old, like hairy hippie kind of
man, super nice,
like in his 80s or something. I don't know. He's maybe not as old as that, but
he's probably in his 60s, and he's like kind of on like a fairy watch. So he's looking for fairies in the forest, and he's like, he's got his camera set up at different places, and it's sort of time lapse. Like, you know, in the first minute he's in one location, and then at minute 4 he's like, okay, it's been a long morning, it finally stopped raining, so I'm gonna try this location for a little while, and then it's like 2 minutes later you skip through, and he's like, okay, well, it's the same day, but I just saw a little movement over here, right over here. And I'm so sorry you missed it. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Is this for real? And this has like 1 million views on it. I'm like, something happens in this video, or 1 million people would not be watching this video. So, and then he was like, and then he turns the camera around, and you're looking over his shoulder. So he's like doing he's doing a selfie cam. So it's the camera's facing him, but you're supposed to be looking over his shoulder. And I wonder if he's doing it to be like, because I'm not doing it right, because I'm holding the camera. And he's like, if you can look right over my shoulder, just peer right here, you can see, oh, did you see it?
See
and
this like little figure coming out between the bushes, but it's not like obviously
a little like green fairy man. I'm like, what is that?
When you sent it to me and you were like, look closely at minute 6 and whatever, and I rewound that bit like 5 times, and then I looked at the comments, and all these people were like, he's this guy that works in like CGI in movies and blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't want to know that. I want to imagine that he's actually in the forest.
I was literally standing in the middle of my kitchen, like laughing. I was like dying, and I'm like, oh my god, like no way. But then I'm like, no, I wanted it to be so bad. Please, like I didn't even want to read the comments. Like I didn't even want to like read the haters who were like, no way, it's so fake. I'm like, I think it might be real. Like so in that case, I 100% don't want to know that it's not real.
I think there's anything wrong with just wanting to believe that it's real and just not think too hard about that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but not only that, but I also have books where it's like first person accounts of sightings over like spanning centuries and up until the present day. Like it's not like these are all stories from the past. It's like there are still people living in Scotland and Ireland who like see fairies on the regular, like farmers who are like, oh yep, nope, we don't mess with them on this day. Like here's their path, stay away from there. The last time I saw them dancing, like in 2021, you know what I mean? So like what do you say to all
my own fairy story, which will surface at some point.
I'm so excited. It's on our website right now. I want you to retell it. Yes, because we launched the website before we aired the podcast. So I put that front and center on our website to hold you over because we hadn't released our episode yet. So yeah, it's right there.
I will retell it probably at some point, along with, I'm sure some ghost stories will come out as well. And
I hope so. When I was talking to my friend Kate on Zoom yesterday, she was telling me her ghost story. We need to have her as a guest on the podcast because she has an unbelievable ghost story. She has multiple where she like full on saw the ghost, like described exactly what she saw, where she was, what she saw, like confirmed with other people. Like, oh, so good. Gave me chills.
I went to this Halloween tour of a castle a few years ago, and it was so cool. It was done at night, 9-10 o'clock at night, and it was just a small group, and all the lights were off, and they just had the castle lit up with candles. And then you went into each room and they told you like the spooky stories of the room, and it wasn't that scary, really. It actually felt quite, the castle felt really cozy with just candles and not the full lights. Apart from a couple of rooms, it felt scary. But there was one room that we went into, and the woman was telling us about sightings that they'd seen. It was in the kitchen, sightings that had been seen, and they had a group and they'd had dowsing rods and this and that had happened, and they'd spotted like a figure in the corner and blah blah blah. And she gave the person a little bit further along from me the dowsing rods, and they weren't really doing anything. The whole time I was like, I wish I could have these. Give them to me. Let me have a shot. I want to see a ghost.
Did they see any?
We didn't see any that night. That was just it was more like a Halloween tour. So it was like going around. It was really cool though, like going around the castle, and each room had a different person.
Oh God.
Like telling us like a historical spooky story from that part of the castle. But what I would really love to do, I hope that they start up again after all this COVID business, is I think that you can also get proper like ghost hunting in the castles, where you go just in a small group, and it is much later, like midnight, 1 a.m, and you're not having the guide telling you stories, but you're like actually, I'd love to go with the equipment.
Oh my God. I would just
be so
die.
cool?
No, I would just die. I would just be dead. Like they'd be like, there's a ghost. I would just like spontaneously combust in fear. I don't think I could take it. I would be freaking.
I would be freaking out too, but I
like,
just think it would be so cool. I'd love to
screaming
experience
idiot the whole entire time. I would lose my schnizzle, like in a bad way, I think. Even like the thought of being the tour guide or the ghost storyteller standing in that room waiting for the next group. Like when you tell me about that, all I think about is the people whose job it is to stand there in a dark haunted castle with the candle waiting for people. Like I can't even stand the thought of being that person in case they saw something or felt something. Like I would lose my mind. I'd be so scared. At the same time, it's so exciting.
When I was a teenager, and I worked in one of the local castles to me, and
getting kind of tasty
sometimes
now, pretty good. Sorry.
Sometimes if you were in the top room, at the end of the day, once all the visitors had left, you had to climb the tower, lock the tower, go all the way back down. There was like a couple of rooms in that turret part. You'd switch off all the lights, and then you had to go across the library, cover everything in dust sheets, switch off all the lights,
oh my God,
all the way downstairs, all on your own. Nobody else there, and I used to freak myself
out. Was you? That was your job?
Yeah.
I would just be screaming. I would be screaming the whole time.
Well, there was one time actually, that I was in that room. So the top floor of the castle was the library, and when I worked there, it wasn't a guided tour in that the guide walked around the castle with everyone. Your job was that you stood in one section of the castle and you waited for people to come into your room, and then you would talk to them. And so the library had 2 floors. It was 2 floors above the previous rooms. So you were kind of on your own up there. There was hardly anyone else, unless it was super busy. Well, we're laughing because Billy is pulling Maggie the dog out of the way.
Get over here.
Poor Maggie. So there was one time that I was standing up in the library and it was quite quiet. There was hardly any visitors. And I suddenly heard these steps above me. And I was like, oh, what is that? And I was in the room on myself. And I was just standing there. I was like 16 or 17. I was just standing there in the room on my own with these steps going above. And I didn't even know what was above the library. I didn't even know there was anything above it. I just heard these footsteps going across and across and across.
What?
And I was seriously shitting myself.
Was it like a one-time thing? You like didn't stop?
And then I'm gonna burst your bubble now, sorry Karen. But like 10 minutes later, the steps started coming down the stairs on the other side of the library, which was a turret of stairs that was closed to everybody. And I was thinking, oh my God, here comes the ghost. Here comes the ghost. And out came my boss with some stuff that he'd come to collect from the loft, which I didn't even know existed.
You little...
did I scare you?
You did! Oh my God! That's not even funny. I would be so mad. I've
got so many stories from that. I tell you what, we used to have a party at the end of the season. So the castle would close for winter, and we'd have a party. And
is this Castle Fraser? You didn't even.
This is Castle Fraser.
Okay.
And this there's no way this would go on now. I know that health and safety and regulations is probably a lot different in the workplace now,
I'm sure,
as it was in the late 80s or early 90s when I worked there. But we used to have a party at the end of the season where we would light the fire in the Great Hall. So normally that fire would get lit. We'd light the fire. We'd have Scottish country dancing music. We'd get drunk on whiskey.
Oh my God,
And
it's so
play,
beautiful. I'm just looking at pictures right now. Holy moly.
we play party games and do Scottish country dancing.
Oh
and then once we'd done a bit of this and it was like quite late in the night, me and some of my co-workers would challenge each other to go through the castle.
No.
But because we were a bit drunk, we'd go through the castle going, woo!
That's like in the horror movies when everyone's like laughing and joking around, but really there's a dude behind you with like a knife who's like, wee,
we didn't even go all the way up to the tower. I'm surprised none of us fell off of it.
Jesus,
I shouldn't really say we were drunk because we were not quite
not okay.
legal drinking age.
Okay, the photos of here are
the UK. It's not.
How far is that? When I come next year, can you
Well,
take
I'm not
me
going
there?
to tell you exactly, but yeah, I'll take you there.
Oh my God. I meant like, where is it in general? Like,
oh my God. Castle Fraser is in Aberdeenshire, and it's one of the National Trust for Scotland castles, which is the organisation that have castles that are open to the public, and it's amazing. It is haunted. Definitely.
You can tell just with one. Oh my God, it is beautiful. Oh, I have to paint this. I'm going to paint it.
Because the woman who owned the castle before it was given to the National Trust, when I worked there, she was still alive. I Googled her recently and discovered that she actually died. I think it was like a year or a couple of years after I had stopped working there in the early 90s, which is really sad because she was such a lovely woman. And she was this like aristocrat, you know, and she obviously, her family had owned the castle, and then it got passed to the National Trust, because a lot of castles got passed to the National Trust just because they were so expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say no one can afford to keep them up.
But her family were actually not the Fraser family. They were actually part of the Cowdrey family, which is this humongous landowning family in the northeast of Scotland. They own loads and loads of castles and land. In fact, there's a building in Aberdeen called Cowdrey Hall, and she was part of that family. They had bought the castle from the Frasers previously, because I don't know if the family line had died out or they had gotten poor and needed to sell it, or I don't know. Don't quote me, because I can't remember the exact details. But she used to come and visit, and she used to come around the castle, and she used to stand in the rooms and talk to us. And she used to tell us lots of ghost stories, stuff that she saw when she was living in the castle when she was younger.
I just can't imagine living a normal life and having regular ghost encounters. Like, those things just seem like asynchronous to me. Like,
maybe I guess, like, we're used to living in like normal little suburban houses, and I guess if you're from a family that is born into living in a castle and that's all you know,
I guess
that's not going to seem weird for you.
I don't know, but or maybe it's more frightening. Like, I just remember when I was growing up and little, I was just terrified. Like, I was terrified of everything. Like, I just sleepless nights in my room thinking there was something under my bed. Like, and I lived in like a house that was built in 1979, and it was only 1986. Like, it was like is new construction, right? Like,
that doesn't necessarily stop ghosts from coming, No.
But that's what I'm saying, is that like the fear that I had.
Your house could have been built on Native American burial ground or something.
That's why I was terrified. And that was like without prompting. That was just my own imagination. And my parents thought, they were like, whatever, you're lame and you're fine, go to bed. And I would be like up for hours, like just like, I'm telling you, terror out of my mind, scared of just whatever. And I can't imagine like being little me and then being in it like without any impetus to to feel fear and yet feeling fear, and then actually being in a place that you actually have a actual reason to be. I can't even like imagine that level of like how do you come to terms with that? Like hearing footsteps on the regular, or like what if it's a malevolent ghost? Like what if it's not just
remember when we were at our castle last year and we had our ghostly thing where we heard footsteps and we asked the owner and her reply was just like, yeah, that's just about right, that's what normally happens.
Well, and
she was so blasé about
well, she was like, well, I get it's has been around a long time, like that's just what happens. We not
kind of live in the house along with us,
right? And that's Wardhill Castle that we're talking about. I know. She's like, it's a really old house. I know. It's just really like as much as I could talk about it all day long. I know
we're gonna have to
fascination. No, I was just saying
2 hours as well.
Well, I was just saying, I know, and we will, but I was just thinking I can talk as I talk a good game as if I could talk about this all the time or whatever. But when you put me in those situations, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I like to think that I could handle it, but
like going to the bathroom in Wardhill Castle, I like
someone come with me.
I was like running up the stairs like a crazy person. I didn't want to shut the door all the way because I wanted to have direct access eyeballs out the door, like an egress in case. And then there were mirrors in that bathroom.
Oh, I couldn't look in the mirror.
What? Oh my God, terrifying. What's with the mirrors?
And when I needed to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, oh my goodness.
Just forget about it.
I'm bad enough in my own house. If I wake up and it's 3 a.m., which happens quite regularly, and I need to go to the bathroom and I happen to look at my phone and it says 3 or 3 something, I'm like, can I hold this pee for another hour so it gets past 3 a.m. so I don't have to go out into the dark hallway at 3 a.m. and see some ghostly spirit standing in my bathroom. And usually I can't. Usually I have to just suck it up and go.
Be a big girl and go.
It's lady syndrome.
I get it though. I totally
get
it. I just think you're braver than I am, but kudos to you. I'm working on it. I'm working up to it.
I don't know if I'd actually be super brave. I did a Christmas event in that castle last year before last, I don't know, I've lost track of time. And the room that they put me in was the room that when I worked there wasn't open to the public. This room was not open to the public when I worked there. It's the haunted room.
Are you serious?
It's the room that Mrs. Smiley used to say that she used to see people.
What? And it was closed off because it was too haunted,
or what? I just think it wasn't maybe they didn't have it decorated to be open to the public, or I don't know. But when they told me I was in that room, my first thing that came out of my mouth was, "You're sending me to the haunted room." And some of the people that worked at the castle obviously realized that their knowledge was confirming mine, because it was my gut instinct.
I was gonna say that was your intuition to just say that. Well,
they looked at me as if to say, "How do you know it's the haunted room?" And I said, "It's a haunted room, right?" And the girl that worked there went, "Yeah, that's the haunted room."
Oh my God.
And the whole time I was in there, I just felt like someone was watching me. It's not a nice room. It's like a room that's the room, and it's got a corridor. Do you know what a corridor is?
Yeah. No, what's a corridor? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, wait.
Corridor is? We just speak the same language.
I don't know what British words you know and what British words you don't.
Have you heard of this thing called a house? A house.
When I came to the States, I couldn't say, "Could I have a rubber, please?" when I needed to rub out a mistake.
Well, I thought you were talking about a rubber is a condom.
An eraser, but we call it rubber. And I asked for rubber in class, and everyone looked at me like I had two heads.
Because you were asking for a condom.
I wasn't asking for a condom. I was asking for an eraser.
Why did
So
you order of all the words that were coming out of your mouth? You just randomly thought that I wouldn't understand what a corridor was.
I didn't. Oh my god.
So good. So good. Do you
Oh, we need to stop laughing. Oh.
You're doing the sign language with your hands. Do you know what this is? Wait,
Well,
what is it?
I might say some Scottish words that you don't know, and then you'll look at me with a blank expression on your face. How am I supposed to know? So this room had a corridor in an L shape with all these like spooky castle portraits of really ugly Scottish people. I'm not saying everyone that's Scottish is ugly, but people in the like 16th and 17th century getting their portrait painted by grumpy. Some artist that's probably not the best, the most talented artist in the world. They're like the lesser portraits, and you know the like cheap versions, and they all seem to have these like really dour expressions and big red noses because they drink too much whiskey. And they all have the same look, and I don't know whether it's because they're all Scottish and they're all a little bit you know, they've got kind of similar genes because they're like from the same clan, or whether it's just that the artist only knows how to paint that particular kind of style of portrait.
One Scot for all.
one Scot and one not. But this corridor has a whole section. If anyone's listening from Castle Fraser, I do love the castle, and I'm not slagging it off.
Stop backpedaling. 20 minutes of backpedaling.
It's got all these like ugly Scottish portraits, and then the haunted room is actually
at the end
the
of
other
it?
part. No, it's the other part of the L, so it's surrounded by the L shape.
Oh,
because it used to just be a big room.
Oh,
The corridor wasn't there.
Oh,
it got sectioned
interesting.
off
yeah.
and made into a room, and then the corridor. And Mrs. Smiley used to say that she'd see figures coming along the corridor from one, because there's like one tower on one side and then another tower on the other side, and she'd see figures coming along the corridor.
Oh, God.
I know.
So multiple. And do they know if it was attached to anyone, like actual real person? I mean, a lot of times people know exactly who it is. Like, oh, that's so and so.
Do you know, I was going to do a whole episode on Castle Fraser, and I thought, nah, it's a bit boring, but we've talked about it for...
I know, right? No, it sounds not. It sounds the opposite. It's so huge and
there
beautiful.
Is a rumor, which I had never heard, the ghostly sort of essence of this castle was not emphasized when I worked there. I think paranormal stuff and ghost stuff's become more popular as time's gone on. So but apparently there was some princess who was murdered on the stairs or in a certain room.
Well, don't tell us everything. If you want to keep it its own episode.
There was like blood marks on the stairs, and they tried to wash them off, and they wouldn't wash off, and they wouldn't wash off, and they wouldn't wash off, and that section of stairs is covered in wood now because it was stone stairs. But I don't want to burst your bubble, but that's probably a bullshit story. But I think that the ghosts that are there are probably just family members, you know, rather than this princess story. Because someone else that worked there that I talked to a few years ago, they didn't work there when I worked there, but they also worked at the castle, said that they actually saw some figure coming down the stairs, but on the side that the public aren't allowed to come.
Interesting.
That bit of stairs is closed off. Yeah. Because when the public visit, you kind of go in a, you know, the tour follows a route, and it goes up one side and then
Right.
up and across. And so there's certain parts of the stairs which are closed off now.
Yeah.
And she saw a figure coming
wow.
down, unless it was another worker with books from the attic, like my boss.
In which case, then it was nothing. No, that's super cool. All right, well, I think you should definitely do a dedicated episode to that. I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's lots of castles in the area with lots of cool ghost stories.
Well, and like your personal stories is equally as interesting, if not more, than just regular stories, because you were there, so you can tell us about, like, you know, what you're feeling.
But if you listen to this one, you don't need to listen to.
I know, but no one's gonna listen to any of them, so it doesn't matter. You can say as much as you want. It's all good.
For one listener, thanks, Billy.
Yeah. Thanks, our editor who is forced to listen to this. Appreciate it. That's why we get paid the big bucks of $0. Well, guess what? We just literally passed the 1 hour mark exactly.
Okay,
so I think that was
an
amazing ending. Thanks,
that
Lucy.
Story was amazingly interesting. I've never heard that before.
Fascinating.
I'm so creeped out by the idea of this guy with his like little red cap friend that he keeps in a box.
Yeah. Ugh. I know. And the fact that all the border castles all are like harboring, it's just like a remnant of this bloody, brutal, like evil breeding evil. It's fascinating. And you know, I know, just gonna leave it at that. It's so cool. But and then it also got like, look at this. We got a new printer. And I'm basically printing out all of Wikipedia's folklore section. Like, because it's so interesting. I'll be like, well, wait, what about this? What about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Because, well,
look at my notes. They're just right on.
I know, but I can't. I'm like, I want to look into more of this stuff later. It's like one leads to this, and it's so fascinating. Yeah, there's so much. How
many Scottish like history and folklore and fairy tale books do you have now? Because I've now got like 10 or 15 of them.
Yeah. And I just ordered another one. I just ordered Brian Froud's Goblin illustrated because I am obsessed with him anyways. And I have all of his other books and I don't have the Goblin one. And I was like, well, I have to read it now. Like, I want to know his take on it. He's a beautiful writer and artist, if you don't know.
Can I quickly... Well, no, I'll maybe speak about it in the next.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. All right, so thanks, guys, for listening. We're going to be back in episode 3, and Lucy's going to tell us all about seers.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I can't wait either. So we'll see you next week with that. And thank you for listening.
Yep.
And we'll talk to you soon.
You know where to find us.
Yeah.
Instagram.
YouTube. And where all your podcasts are found, and our website. We have our swag. We have some awesome journals, and we're gonna make some more journals as well.
Yeah. And if you found our babbling bearable, please give us a rating because that's how we get found.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, if you don't hate us, we would love to be reviewed. It will be amazing. And if you do hate us, carry on.
Just keep it to yourself. Don't burst our bubble, please.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear the hard truths. We want to just keep it the face.
We already know we're horrible. You don't need to also put it in writing. It's all good. All right. We'll see you soon for the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yay.